this week event called the Deep Insights into Tech. So during this week event, we'll be talking about several areas in tech, but we'll be starting by 11:05 because we're few. We'll just give people time to join, and when it's time, we'll start the event. Thank you very much. Chidebere, you start recording when we start by 11:05. So just hang in tight and let's wait for more people. Thank you. Okay, so good morning, good day everyone. It's 11:05 and we're going to start now. So first and foremost, I want to welcome each and every one of us to this 1 week event that is starting and kicking off today. So what brought about this event was because currently we're running our study groups, which has about 7 to 8 tracks, and um, because a lot of people also want to join the next batch that is starting in December and all those things. So a lot of questions come up on the group. A lot of questions. I'm always asked a lot of questions about how to start, where to start from, what even for some people that know about tech, they're always asking um, what is this about, what is that about, and to solve and answer all these questions and problems. That's what brought about this event. So in this 1 week event that is starting today, we'll be talking about several areas in tech, ranging from the game the game field to cyber security to web development to what to most of the tracks in tech. So today we'll be starting with front end and the back end track. By the way, my name is Ifion Olisheye, and I'm glad to virtually meet all of us in this meeting. If not for this lockdown and corona ish, this event would have been physical. So yeah, like I said, we're starting with front end and back end today. So first and foremost, we have Precious Unbreezy. She's the one that will be taking us for the front end track. So you can get your notes out, you can get your jotter and your pen to write out whatever she's saying, because we brought people that are from the industry, like we brought very professional people to come talk to us. So expect the best from every speaker in this event. Yeah, I'm proud to say that because I know I know the people I brought. So first and foremost we'll be having like Precious Undubeze. So I'm just going to say a little about so Precious Undubeze is a software developer who currently is at a crossroad in tech field. She enjoys food testing. So I would like each and every one of us to virtually clap for Precious Undweze, also known as Gabi, as she'll be giving a talk on the front end development. She'll be talking about the several she'll be talking about tips, career opportunities, and how to get started with front end. So Precious, over to you.
Hello guys, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. My name is Precious, as she said. So I would try sharing my screen. Yeah, so I can present while talking. Mm, okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yes, ma.
Okay. So our topic is building a career path with in front end development. In front end. So we'll be starting from the basics and then we'll be talking about how to um build your career. So my name is I'm mostly called Gabby or Precious, but my official name is Precious Zamandwizi. My GitHub and my Twitter is P Gabby Precious and Gabby Precious. So there's nothing interesting about me mostly, so that's why there's nothing really much here. So before we start with front end, we have to know about web development. So web development is plainly just building and creating sites and applications using Okay, sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yes, you can. You can.
Okay, so um there is the front end and the back end of every site, or well, mostly of every dynamic site. So there's the front end, which is the part we see, and then the back end, which handles the logic. So for every a site is either a static site or a dynamic site. So a static site is a site that just uses front end, so there's no logic behind it. It sends the same information to all users at whatever time they try accessing the site. But a dynamic site uses the backend, and also it it shows users more of what their preference is. So it's usually dynamic and usually sends data. Like examples of a static site could be Wikipedia. So there is not like if you go to Wikipedia, if you search for something, it gives you the same information. It gives you the same information as whenever you try to visit it. So if I visit a site, no matter when and no matter who is visiting it, this just all that is going to be shown. And yeah, this is an example of a static site. So a dynamic site would be Twitter or Facebook. It uses information like people's timeline are always different based on who they follow, and algorithms usually from the back end. Yeah, so we'll be talking about the front end. So front end development is usually about implementing designs and reading data from the back end. So usually you work with a designer who creates a website for you to build, yeah, to um, convert the design into a live site with code. So also, if you are working with the backend, you can work with the backend using API or directly, where you send information or you try to get information from the back end and then display it to the user. That's the primary role of a front end developer. So your career roadmap is like basically how to go from being clueless in front end development to going as far as getting your first job. So there's the basics, and you have to learn the basics, and you have to build projects. So for projects, it's a continuous stuff. Yeah, we'll be talking about the basics in the next slide. For the project, it's a continuous stuff. So when you are learning something, the best way to learn is usually to have ideas and try implementing them. So you might try implementing a design that's already existing, like some people trying replicating Twitter, some people try replicating Facebook. But if you are working with a designer or a friend, they could actually have designs that you could work with and then learn. And there are also projects you could come up with, simple designs you could try to do on your own and then make something. Then there's pick a framework. So usually to go far, you have to pick a framework. There are popular frameworks that you have to work with that it helps simplify your work process mostly, and helps you build faster. So that's the work of frameworks. So in most in the industry now, the basics are not just enough. You can get some jobs with the basics, but it's usually advised that you go as far as learning, picking a framework or one or two frameworks to have with you while you are then working with API. So mostly when you are starting, you'll be building static sites, and you won't have much information with the backend or APIs. So for you to get ready and go far, you have to work with APIs, so which is usually the backend. Um, yeah, so you work with the back end. You try implementing endpoints with the back end, and after that, you work towards getting your first job if that's your goal, because some other people could have other goals. So yeah, this is the basic the roadmap. So the basic is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So you can't talk about front end development without talking about this. So HTML is if for a to explain front end with the basic, you could think of a building or a house. So the blocks are like the HTML. So they are the basic foundation of how you want to present or how you want your site to be laid out. So you use your HTML to create this layout, create the text, create your um designs, and then you use CSS, which is cascading style sheets, to design it. So you're painting the shape of your room and everything. It's basically what CSS does. It helps give you a more creative look. So if you are working with just HTML, you don't really get to do a lot of styling. Create, yeah. So this is hello, hello.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah. So
We can hear
this
you.
site has a list of CSS, but mostly if you are working with this, it's usually this plain. It doesn't have much look or much design about it. So for you to be able to do certain stylings in basically every styling in the front end, you have to know CSS. And yeah, then JavaScript is used in creating functionalities of your site. So for every basic functionality on your site, you have to create it with scripts. So like to what a button does, to print a statement. Yeah, so every interaction you do with the with your site has to be implemented with JavaScript. Yeah. So popular framework. So when you learn JavaScript, you if you learn JavaScript, you'll be introduced to ES6. So ES6 is a modern JavaScript. So yeah, when you work with ES6, you also learn about React, Vue, and Angular. These are popular ones. There are also other frameworks and libraries that you can use in creating your front end application. So usually React is the more popular one. It's a library. The It's a JavaScript library. So all of these are JavaScript libraries and frameworks. You use it to create your site. So it helps. So you're basically building in JavaScript, and then it helps compile them back to basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So whenever you learn anything React, they still get converted back to the basic, which is um, JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. The same thing applies for Vue and Angular. So they are all frameworks that you use in JavaScript to build front-end applications. There are also several languages you can also work with. You can use Rust. You can use Ruby on Rails. There are many languages and frameworks to work with in building your front-end application, but this is usually the first and the popular ones that with more resources to read about. So we are getting started with um coding. We are getting learning front end. If you're a newbie, there are certain tools, or basically these tools for everybody. So you have to get code editor. So code editor is basically like WordPress. So it allows you to write your code, save them, and then work them and do whatever you're doing. So whenever you're writing or whatever you are designing or whatever you're coding, you have to pick VS Code, which is Visual Studio Code. Some also like this. There are also more code editors out there, but this is the popular ones. VS Code, which is the one I use, Atom and Sublime. So whenever you are using them, you get to write whatever code you're writing inside them, save them, and then you see your results on GitHub. You see your result on the browser. So then there's Git. So Git is under versioning. So versioning is the act of you're working on a particular let's say a scenario where you're working on a task and you want to save it up and work on something else, but you don't want whatever you do or whatever you're working on to implicate your previous code. So you save up that as a version somewhere so that you can always go back to it in case you have a need for it. Yeah, so that's what Git is about. Then GitHub is so instead of working with just it being on your local system, you can push it to GitHub, or there's also Bitbucket and several other sites that help you. So these are repos that are hosted online where you can get to commit and contribute. So if you are working with a colleague on a project, you both can use Git and GitHub to work together, and then you use your browser and your Firefox to work together. So before I go forward, let me see if I can open up a project and show you something. Okay. 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 Um. All right. So. Yeah. So let me open this. So I'm going to open this with my code editor, which is VS Code, and I'm going to okay, yeah. So this basically HTML. So yeah, I'm trying to create a site. So I can open up the site. I can open up. So I can open up the site here. So it opens with my. So yeah, this is basically all this. Most of it was done with CSS. That's why there's not a lot written here. So this is HTML. I connected the CSS here. I connected the CSS here, and then I'm working with it. So I'm building this. So this is how CSS looks like. So yeah, if so working with this now, this is my my VS Code. This is a browser I can use if I'm working with if I'm working with JavaScript or as I'm working with CSS, I'm trying to create things here, but I'm trying to make an edit and I want to see how the edit is working immediately. I could style it here and find out what it does from this part. So this your browser helps you in testing how your site looks, and also you can test you can make changes here to see whatever you want to find do, and then back to your code so it's saved up, because if you refresh the site it doesn't save up. So those are the tools you use. Then if I want to save it, I can, if I want to work on it, I can initiate git here, so I can push whatever code I'm doing, or I can save it on this platform, on GitHub platform. Yeah. Are you guys still hearing me?
Yes, fine,
Yeah, yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Um all right, so career opportunities. So aside from the fact that being a front end, learning front end, you get to be a front end engineer. You can start from an intern or a junior developer and then work your way up the ladder. You can also do several things like technical writing. These are stuff that you get paid with. You can be a technical writer, you teach people how to code. So when you get better, it also helps you with getting better in coding. So when you get to teach more people, write about what you are learning. I usually advise that if you are learning, no matter what, as simple as what you are learning, you should always try documenting it. It helps me in learning better and becoming better in what I'm doing. So if I write about it, I could publish it, or I could just have it saved up, and then people also get paid for writing technical. They have technical writers for companies, or you can be a freelance technical writer and you work for several organization, or you could work for a company and help them write code. So when you are a technical writer, you don't just write, you also code. So being a content creator, you could have a podcast, you could have a YouTube channel where you teach people how to write code and several other things. Then the last one is a tool builder. So in the I usually events, yeah, is where you contribute to other platforms, and like probably your favorite tool or whatever you're working with, you contribute to them, or you build your own tool and get it out there and people get to work with it. um I don't know if there's much to talk about. So here I'm going to share this. These are resources that would help you with your learning. So for each of them, there's a link, and you have several links where you can learn with. So if you're getting started in learning, these resources will help you a lot. Even if you've gone far, they're actually great resources that can help you in planning how you go about with learning front end development. I don't know if you guys have questions.
Hello, hello.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for going through this. Okay, so you were talking about handling.
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Okay, so you made mention of JavaScript. Can you just say more on that? All the difference between the JavaScript and Bootstrap.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
All the difference between a JavaScript and Bootstrap.
A JavaScript and
Bootstrap.
okay, Bootstrap is for CSS. So with CSS, so just like we have React and Vue and Angular for JavaScript, with CSS there are other frameworks, or yeah, there are other tools that help you write CSS better. Bootstrap is the popular one. So with Bootstrap, it helps. It already has some pre-made CSS styling for you. So you just add them to your code, and it does whatever styling it has on that class or ID you're trying to use. So that's what Bootstrap does. It helps with your CSS, your styling. Bootstrap is for CSS. I don't know if I've been able to answer your question.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you very much.
I don't know if anyone has another question.
Okay, if you have questions, you can ask. If you can't talk, you can type it in the chat section. So someone has a question. Arafa has a question. She typed it. She says, "What does it take to be a front-end engineer after learning HTML, CSS, and JS? What is the difference between an engineer and a developer?"
Actually, there's no difference. It's you're if you're a front end engineer, you're a front end developer. There's no difference. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me share the link to the slide. Hmm. So yeah. So the link to this slide. Yeah. The difference between a web designer and a web developer. So yeah, like I said, a designer basically just works with tools like Figma to create the outlook of how the site should be. And then a web developer is one that actually uses code to create the site and then hosts it. Okay. So I guess I'm biased in this statement. For for frameworks to use in 220 between Vue and React, which tool has more potential? So I'll be biased and say Vue, but React is more popular and you can get more jobs with React. So yeah, but my biased statement is Vue, but yeah, there's React. Exactly. Maybe I should stop sharing my screen now.
Okay, any more questions? Do we have any more questions? Okay, there's a question.
So, what is the salary for an average front end developer? I don't know. To be honest, I don't know because people get paid differently. But an average, if based on if you're working for Nigeria or outside the country, but for an average, I think a junior developer in Nigeria should be paid 150 or 200 in Nigeria. Uh, okay. When does one start learning a framework? I don't know. I learned for me, I don't think what I followed was the best route. I learned JavaScript together with Vue. So yeah, I did JavaScript a little bit, and when I said I did a project Then I didn't go very much. I picked up E6 and then Vue together, and I was learning together. When you should pick a framework is when you think you are comfortable with plain JavaScript and you want to move into something better and challenge yourself. Yeah. So what are frameworks? So frameworks are tools that help you work easier. So they are usually placed above languages, or they usually work with certain language because each a language can have several frameworks and libraries. So these frameworks or libraries are tools that help you work with a particular help you achieve a particular um area of your coding very well. So they are mostly pre-made tools that make your coding simpler. How do you start learning Vue? Yeah, I think the Vue documentation is actually very nice. Yeah, I'll try sharing the link. The Vue documentation is actually very nice to get started with. Yeah. So yeah, that's how you start with Vue. Um, like the links I shared with the sites I shared with you guys, it has a lot of links to learn React, Vue, and Angular, or whatever framework you want to learn with, especially the last one. Let me try getting it. Mm, yeah. So the last one actually helps a lot. Freelancing in Nigeria, doing I'm not a freelancer in Nigeria, but I guess there are people that can actually help you with that. I'm currently working for a company, so I can't see how it works. But I think there are lots of obstructions, but some people actually made it work with Upwork and Fiverr. How long does it take to averagely become a junior developer? I I won't say for sure, because there are usually no entry level jobs, but you can start from an internship, and if you are promoted, or when you are done, you can also look for a junior developer role. So basically, being a junior developer does means you're not really that good, but you have a lot of skills under you and you have a lot to offer. So that's why it's good to build projects and have a lot of things to do, so you can present as what you are doing and see how versatile you have gone. How do you know if they are job ready? Job ready. Um, I guess when um you have like I usually work with people that help me with advice and stuff. That is more advanced people, and they get to review what you have done and then give you feedback. So if you're becoming better and you think you have something great you can offer, and if you want money, yeah, I guess you are job ready. Who's my favorite? Me, I don't know. I don't know, but I think I'll go with Guna. Yeah. I think every company that has a site employ front end developers. Yeah. How does it look to work with a company? It's actually very nice based on the fact I'm still an intern and a junior developer. Yeah, so I work with a lot of people that are much higher than me, and I get to learn from them and get to do things with things that I'm proud of. Um, the stuff I showed you, I used just plain. It was kind of a project for me to just use plain CSS and JavaScript. I don't usually do that. I think that's the only project. Okay, two. There's the only two projects like that where I use pure HTML and CSS. So I usually work with Vue. I don't know React. I usually work with Vue. So I work with Vue and then I use Bootstrap. So I guess everybody's done with their questions. HTML does not have any framework. You have to last write HTML. And for me, I think actually for everybody, Vue is a lot easier to learn. So people might have opposing views, sure, but Vue is a lot easier to learn, which is why I prefer it because I don't like stress. Vue is actually a lot easier to learn. But if you're actually good with very good with JavaScript, you would um you would actually understand React very much better. I think the challenges I faced was usually data and light issues. Yeah, those were the only issues I had, and then a bad system. Yeah, how did I overcome it? I guess I started saving up. Yeah, that was I started saving up for the laptop, and then I got to a better place with lights. So yeah, if you have mentors that can actually help you a lot to be good. I think Arafa is looking for um a this mentisha. So you guys can reach out to her. You can reach me on Twitter. I'm always on Twitter. Not really, but I'm always on Twitter. My handle is P Gabby Precious. How long have I been a front end developer? Not really long, cause actually I do more of backend and then I do Vue. Yeah, so I'll pretty much say a year. Yeah, I won't really say full stack, but yes, something like that. How long did you work your way to? Like I said, I've been coding for a year plus now. Yeah, I'm still an intern. No. I don't know for intern roles. You could actually ask on Twitter for intern roles. They will actually help you a lot. I think Twitter will actually help you a lot with getting jobs. Oh, sorry. I said, um, I've been coding for a year plus, and yeah. So I don't know how long. For a lot of people, it's actually faster. I think my own is a little bit faster because I was more. I spent like a month or so just coding. So it's based on the amount of time you can actually um give to it and work together. So yeah, if you can actually give a lot of time to it will shorten your time frame, and it's usually a one person's journey. Please, nobody should. Which one? Which 300? Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, for the internship role, like I said, if you go on Twitter, like that's how I got my job. I actually went on Twitter to say I was looking for an internship role. So most internship role are not usually advertised. So yeah, it's not. But if you actually show yourself, one of the ways of probably getting a job is to actually display your talent. So with each project you are learning, you show it out there, and then you also specify that you are actually looking for a job. Yeah, I'm looking for a job, Shao, in case anybody wants to hire me.
Okay, so okay, this should be the last question that we'll entertain for this session.
Um, I think if you actually check my handle, you will see that my handle is not a professional tech person. So it's just a personal account that grew into something that has tech inside, but it's not primarily tech. So yeah. But actually, some people actually open their social media just to publish their work. It depends on what you want out of it. I guess this is the last question.
Yes, it is. Okay, thank you very much, Precious, for today's session. If you have any more questions for her, you can reach her on her social handle. She has dropped it, P Gabby Precious. So thank you once again. So we're moving to the second talk. So the second talk is on the back end development track, and unfortunately, Bayo won't be around because an emergency came up, so he had to attend to it. But still, we still have someone to talk to us about the back end track, and his name is Mohammed Kali. If I got that right. Yes, his name is Muhammad Kali. So Muhammad Kali is a CTIO at Loom and is also the DSC lead for Umaru Musayadua University in Katsina State. He is a full stack web engineer and software product manager. And his favorite saying is code like a lover, love like a coder. So um I would like us to welcome Mohammed Kali as he'll be talking on the backend development track. So, Mohammed, over to you.
Hi guys, good morning. It's a wonderful day to be here. I really love this. Been following through since a couple of minutes ago, and I say the questions I'm seeing here shows a lot of guys who are going to be hitting the world hard very soon. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and yeah, sure, let's go. So let me just. I'm trying to settle up my slide. Just a moment. Uh, Before I put my slide up, does anyone have a kind of um, idea? Okay, this back end of the thing. What does it look and any idea whatsoever? Anyhow you feel it, just drop it in the comment. Let me see. Hello, can you hear me now? Hello.
Yes,
Yes, we can
yes,
hear you.
yes.
Yes, we can hear
I
you.
hear you.
Oh, great. So I was saying, anyone with any idea of back end, let's see what we have before we go into my slide. Okay, great. Server-side programming. Khalid has no idea. All right, you'll have idea and even more today. Good. Good server-side programming. I like this image. Right. Any other person? 1, 2, 3. All right. I'll just proceed straight. And let's just do this. All right. So backend intro. Basically, we'll just be looking at the basics today. And oh, not this. So basically, the next slide is quite scary. If you know you have a kind of phobia or something, just be sure to kind of maybe wear a glass or something. Okay, this is a scary screen, and I'm sure probably you might have seen this somewhere in the world before. Well, it looks very scary, though I would love to actually dive deep here and have a shower. Okay, so basically, what is backend to us? Google says it's that part of computer system or application that is directly not accessible by the user and is typically responsible for storing and manipulating data. Okay, that's what Google says, but what does that even mean? Let's go. Okay. Are you all wait, are you guys seeing my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
that's it.
so
Just
Yeah, we can.
does this give you any idea? Or does it give you any kind of goosebumps? Kind of a beast is gonna be really this back end thing. Someone's mic is yeah. Thank you. Okay, if you can you hear me now? I don't know why my voice is quite low, but I'm
We
talking a
can
bit
hear
loudly.
you.
All right. So yeah, we're gonna be. I'll ask some question after this. So I just want you to look properly at it. 1, 2, 3. Next slide. Okay, it's that part that looks scary but does so much for the system's success. Okay, we know that already. Now, what about this picture? Just 5 seconds, and I'll take it up and I'll ask a question to us all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in the comment section, just in 2 minutes, let's quickly discuss what from those two pictures and illustrations I gave, what can you deduce now about the back end? K. Kennedy says it's hard and scary. Wow. Back end is scary and scattered. Papa Lola says it's that part that does the dirty work. Okay? Front end display, back end is technical. Thank you, Alex. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Small logical. Yes, yes, yes. Is the friend your mom says you should avoid? Well, to some extent, but not really. Basically, the dirty work is where bulk of the work is done. It's the messy part of the software. Great, 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 great. Okay, okay. I love this insights. Mastercraft. It's ugly. Wow. All right, all right. Okay. So that's actually I love that. I love this insight. I love this insight. They're actually very nice. So let's go back to the presentation. Now, basically it says, okay, let me define it once again in graphic terms. So basically, I'll use all what you guys have said here and use my own definition of back and forget about all what I've been learning before. So basically, it's just a system, a part of the software that deals with the handling of the complex data manipulation, kind of deals with that part of the system that requires you to collect data. And the data you are seeing on your front end is basically what backend is sending to you for you to see on your front. Okay, let's take this meeting room for instance. These messages that you are seeing, the avatars you are seeing on your screen, everything. If you enter, if you check the source of this file now, the source of this page, you're just going to see a bunch of things. And this detail cannot change themselves, but by default here, things are just changing. The names are changing, the messages are coming. And when I type, it goes, if I say, hi, you guys see it just now. And the reason why I could just you can see this hi I sent just now is because after my front end collects it, then the back end, the back end actually processes it and saves it in the database. Your own front end picks up that data from the database and then it displays to you. And the same is it's just vice versa for you too. So basically, the back end is just that part of your program or your web application that deals with data manipulation. Anything that has to do with serving this data to front end, collecting it from front end, saving it to database, returning it when it's required, deleting it, whatsoever. It's just a work of the back end. And as I think Precious is the name, right? As she has explained, uh, I wasn't part of the main presentation from the beginning, but I'm sure what she has said is front end is that part of the system which you can actually see in your browser. Yes, exactly. So that other part that is now giving the front end, that what you're seeing, that information is just the back end. Okay. So after that, I think this definition of Google actually gives us a lot of insight that is responsible for storing and manipulating data. Okay, so now let's look at okay. Before that, I don't know if that is clear enough. That definition of backend is clear enough.
Yes, fair enough. Fair enough.
All right, perfect, perfect. So let's proceed to the functions of the backend. Basically, your backend does first thing, it connects your front end with that data that you are using. You know, of course, we say a website or an application is just a system which collects data, processes it, and gives you a response. So basically, for you to be able to get that response that you're requiring from your application, you need to first save it somewhere and then process it and then return it to the view you can actually see. Okay, let's take this instance. I have a website where okay, let's take this okay, school portal for instance. Now you go there, you register, you put your email and your password. And when you enter, it gives you a whole bunch of details about your profile, everything about you, you know. So this is of course it's not in your browser, you know that. So if it's not in your browser, where is it coming from? So of course it is coming from that backend. And how is this backend being able to connect with this front end that you are seeing? It is just I mean the database is being connected to your front end. It's just the work of the backend. Okay. Okay, Khalid, I will complete the slide and send them. I'll share with the group because there is some part of it which I've not completed. I'll just complete it later and send it to Ithian and she can share with you. Okay. So meanwhile, your back end connects your front end with the data actually. One, two. Another functionality is it handles data transactions. Okay, basically, you see, when we talk about this data transaction, taking the illustration of typing and sending the message to you. When I type a message in my browser or in this chat section, it collects it, right? After collecting it, it saves to database. After saving to database, your own phone or your own device in your own end retrieves that data and then shows it to you. Okay. Now, assuming there is an option of edit in this Zoom room, I'll have actually been able to explain that. But nonetheless, let's take the option of editing WhatsApp's WhatsApp. How do we call it? Your WhatsApp name. Of course, let's say you have uh, Ibrahim as your first name, or John or Joseph. So later you now decide to just use your dev name, okay, dev ID or dev job, something like that. You just go there, edit it. That's also another example of the patching of data. That's just updating the data. And at times you might want to just remove that WhatsApp name you're using and make it blank so in the group no one sees any name. And that's just an example of you deleting that data. Or let's take your school portal, for instance. You register as a student. Of course, that's sending and it's going to be saved to database. Retrieve, when you log in and it shows you. The patch is when, let's say, your first name is erroneous. So maybe you have an issue with that first name. Maybe it's spelled as double E instead of single I. So you go there to edit it. That's an example of patch. And then let's say through with school and they have that culture of deleting student data from them, or maybe those profile details they might want to delete it from one end of the system. So they just delete it and boom, it's out of the system. Then apart from just sending and receiving data and storing and patching and deleting, also there are some data manipulations that are actually done on the back end. Let's take for instance now, let's say this Zoom room now that we are, majorly, okay, when someone leaves the room, yes, of course, the person's status has changed in the database, of course, and it's actually possible only through your browser or your device, your application that is actually using will send a signal to the back end. So in the back end, everything will be updated. Okay, to update the status there, to update the room that we are ahead, that someone has left. It's if someone joins, it actually updates that detail and the status for us as well. And let's say the meeting is ended, of course, it automatically updates the database that okay, the meeting has ended, and then you're not able to access it. So just that, and also other examples might include okay, when let's say WhatsApp chat, for instance, there is this what do you call it? This time manipulation. Okay, it sends the time that you are send the message, the date as well. When it's after 3 months, it automatically deletes the chat or deletes the pictures. All those stuff of changing data while you cannot actually see what is happening. You are not seeing how it is being deleted, but then under the hood, it's deleting those data or editing something. Working on that data precisely. It's also the functionality of the backend. Another example we could take is for the case of application that is kind of maybe a mathematical application, something that deals with mathematics, or maybe deals with money, for instance. Okay, basically because of security, most of the functionalities, most of the data manipulations are abstracted to the back end, to the server, for it to be more secure. And that's also being handled by the server, by the back end, because if you leave it to the front end and you're not having a kind of very strong protection, I believe you're going to be having a problem which nobody wants to have. So basically, uh, backend is just for those three. Those three functionalities I list are just kind of brief about the features. All other features, all other actions that the backend take are actually grouped under these three functionalities. Okay. So next. Okay. So This is another picture of the back of an illustration. I don't know if you guys can just make a quick insight from this. Okay, I hope that all those the functionalities of the backend are understood by everyone, right? So, okay, good, Rani. So look at the picture and tell me what you think. What do you think about this picture? Actually, I love the back view. So now let's see how that actually happens. What can you say about this picture and the back end together? Any insights? Okay. One, two, I'll count it 10, and after that we'll proceed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. Okay. 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 Good. Good. I like this. Presenters. Yeah. Then components that work together to give the front end its appearance. Yes. Definitely is the packaging. Exactly. Exactly. It's actually the presentational part. You know. Okay. So good. 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 Now they ask us this question: how important is the back end? And yeah, actually, it's as important as the internal wiring in your houses. Okay, so now Mastercraft says that it's like BE make FE balance. Well, actually, they all make themselves balance because if you see the information being retrieved from the back end just in its raw format, then you'll be like, what? Man, I can't really make sense of anything here. So majorly, it's just a kind of striking balance. You know, it's just a striking balance between just like the way spirituality and physical come together. It's just the same. Spirituality, the spiritual part is just the back end, and the front end is your physical part. Okay. So that said, now okay, I think this is where my slide. This is where I was able to get to. So I'll complete other part of the presentation from just my own insights. Okay, so how does the front end integrate with the back end, or how does the back end integrate with the front end? So majorly, when you build, when you're building an application, for instance, let's say you're building an application that is going to be a school management system. Okay, so now you have two parts of the people there. You have the front end and the back end guys building the front end building the UI and the back end. So what they will be building is they'll be dealing with things that have to do with the database, the server, how the server will connect with that front end. So how does that server connect? That's back end connects here. So majorly from the past, majorly uh, we just write the back end code as well as the front end code alongside with each other. So we kind of have a kind of intertwined uh, code writing. Okay, we write the front end and the back end, and then just match them and just send put the link the files together that are responsible for each part of the application. So another part that is actually for maybe apps that are actually making not so huge, not so enterprise level, maybe just simple applications or maybe personal projects. Then another approach to it is by the implementation of things like web API, just API precisely, application programming interface. I think everyone can relate to that. So basically, the API is just a kind of a kind of way of you create the backend application on its own, create the front end application on its own. Then you create a kind of interface where two of them will link together, and that's done by the use of making endpoints that you create from the backend. Then the front end links with this endpoint, and then it sends and retrieves data from both from either way that is required. Okay, for instance, I have this front-end application created by Precious, and then I build this back end, and then Precious needs to collect data that's giving me all the users in this application. So majorly what Precious will just do is that she'll talk with me, I'll give her the documentation for this backend for this users, and just tell her, okay, go to so link, and then send this request. When you send this request from your backend, from your front end, let's say you put a get request, it will just go to that front end, that back end, and it will query that function there that okay, this is requested. Then kind of mechanism will run, and then it will collect that details from the database and sends it back to the front end. Okay, so that said, actually, it will require us to look at components of the back end. Okay, and majorly we have three components of the backend. I'll just copy and paste the resource in the chat section. Okay, yeah, the first one is the server, and this server is actually just like your system, just like what you're doing here. Okay, your system hosts the application. It's just the same thing. The server is just a computer that receives this request. Okay, now how does it receive this request? Basically, majorly what happens is that there is an application that is created to handle those requests from the front end. And let me just give you a quick scenario of course, you know how the web works. Okay, the browser sends a request to the server, and this server will now process this request, go to the DNS, resolves it, get the IP address, then queries the IP address for that resource, and then the IP address, okay, understands how what request is being made, and then goes into its database, look for what resource is requested, and then returns it to the application, which now in turns return that response to the server, to the client side thing. At this point, I'll just does anyone have an experience or knows how a server farm works? I mean, a server computer works. Does anyone has an idea? Okay, I got one response. Okay. Well, no problem with that. Probably a lot. Though I have some resources that illustrate how the server works, but I will need to really dig through my repository to check that. I'll try and get it and then share with you. It's quite informative. So majorly what happens is this. Okay, after your domain. Okay, let's use the web application for instance as an instance. Okay. You query, let's say, meet.google.com now. Of course, your browser is the front end, you know that. So, but it's not residing inside the browser. The data you are requesting from Google Meet is not in the browser. So, what it does is that it sends, the browser now sends a request to the internet, and there is first thing what it goes goes into a registry, and this registry contains the IP addresses of all the websites in the world, and then all the domains, the address you create, okay, meet.google.com, goes to that registry. We call it the DNA. What's the name? The domain name registry. I've forgotten the name precisely, but it's just a registry, kind of a place where domain names are matched with the IP address of a website actually. So now after it goes there and it matches it with the proper IP, then it proceeds to that IP, and that IP serves as just as the address of your home, for instance. Okay, you live at number 21 Fusu Street. Now this IP address is just pointing to that place in your home. When it gets to your home, then it will request for that detail, and then that detail will be collected and then will be sent back as a response. So now how it works is that it queries that address. When it queries it for that resource that you are requesting, what happens is that it gets to that server. The server has this application that is being configured to make it act as a server, and then it takes that request from there. It searches through the details, the database that it has connected to it. If that request is found, then it will now collect that response and send it to that application. That application will send it back to that HTTP request that is being sent. That HTTP request will now send back this response, and then your browser now collects that HTTP response and then displays it on your browser, and now you can see all this. Okay, and all those happens in a fraction of seconds, a fraction of moments actually. So majorly that's just what happens on your as you query your data from your website. So someone says the server serves what, and what comes to mind is like a waiter in a restaurant. Perfect illustration. So of course, all the cooking, all the manipulation, all the ingredients adding, all the coleslaw preparation, all the cabbage cutting, all the everything is being done inside the kitchen of the restaurant. Nobody sees that. You go to restaurants, of course, the waiter is smiling. She's beautiful. He's beautiful. You see it. Oh wow, I love this restaurant. The food comes, the aroma fills your nose, and you're so happy. Boom! You don't know that someone is there at the back, having so much smoke in their eyes and whatsoever. And then someone says, yeah, it serves the food. Yes, the server just goes to that kitchen, picks up the food that is requested by that customer. Let's use Ajala Marvelous. Ajala Marvelous goes to a restaurant and says, I want to take fried rice. Okay, then the waiter takes the order, goes in to the kitchen. Okay, so person wants fried rice, and then okay, they prepare the fried rice, blah 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 blah. Okay, takes the food and comes to Ajalama Velos, and Ajalama Velos is happy, you know. So basically, that's just what happens. The server is just like that. It takes your request, go and probe the database, the database, and then returns a response for you. And then the server is also responsible for receiving requests. I guess yes, you're very very correct. It collects the request from the front end. When I hear the phrase the server is down, okay, it's probably not capable of receiving requests. Oh yes, yeah, probably not capable of receiving requests, or not. That's when it's completely inaccessible, like completely inaccessible. But at times, it actually can see the request, but processing that request is what is the issue. So it happens different times. Okay. So majorly that is just the server for you. I think with this we can have a glimpse of what the server is. Okay. Then after that, we can also look at the possibility. Okay, let me stop presenting. So we can also look at the other part of it. We say the application. So now that we've talked about the server, next is the application. It says the application running on the server that is on that computer that listens for requests. So majorly, yeah, the server collects the request, but then it passes it through to the application. And this application is just what takes this, it is what understands the request that you are sending, and then it now queries that database that is linked to, and then sends you a response. Okay, so just like let's say in the restaurant too, let's say when the waiter takes your order and goes to the kitchen, of course it's not the waiter that will prepare the order, it is actually the person in the kitchen, the let's say the chef, that understands what you want and then prepares what you want and then gives that server, the waiter, that feedback. So we take that chef as probably the application actually. Okay. Then we have the database that is used to organize and process data. Of course, when data is sent to the back end, it needs to be saved somewhere. And this is the work of the database majorly. And this database, yeah, persist data is just the same as saving data. Keep your data safe for future use. So majorly these are the three components of the back end. And as you delve into it, there are tons of things that will actually be, that will actually be opening up to you. That's one beauty about this field of technology, this field of tech, Dimas, the link, yes, I will complete it and send it later. Probably Ifrihan will send it as a group message to everyone, or maybe I can send the slide link for the ones that I have so far. So when I update it, you guys can see it later. Okay, I already have a part of it there. It's just like it's not complete. So I'll send it also later. I'll share the link to later when I'm through. Okay. Then moving forward, we've seen how the components of the back end. So I hope that's clear enough. I hope we all understand. We have a glimpse of what that means to us. Okay, the database will be like where IP address our server takes requests, act as the work of processing, packaging, and executing requests. Okay, yes, good. Yeah, the IP address is just the location. Let's assume it's the location of that restaurant that you are going to, Of course, that you need to identify the restaurant first before you can place the order. Just like, is it Mastercraft? Yeah, just like Mastercraft went to a restaurant. A restaurant is located on, I don't know much streets in Lagos. I think most of you guys are from Lagos. I don't know much. Okay, let's say, um, okay, let's just say Ikeja, for instance. Okay, Yaba, good. Thank you for helping me. Yaba. Okay, let's say a restaurant is located at number 2 Mushin Street, Yaba, or something like that. So this address is just, for instance, that's your IP address. It's just the location pointing where you can find that resource on the internet. You get the point. And it's actually pointing to that computer that saves, that holds that data that you're actually querying, that data that you want to work with. Okay? So yeah, the server takes the request. Yes, the server acts just like the waiter in your restaurant, So the server takes your request and then goes to the application. Yes, it gives the application, that is the self, for instance, it gives him the request, and then the self will now go inside the restaurant, I mean the kitchen, that we have different pots of different foods. Then the chef will pack from one pot, from that pot, from this pot, put everything together as you requested from your order, then gives it to the waiter, and then you call that the app sends a response back to the server, and the server now sends it back to you who requested for it. So majorly that is just the scenario I think will work for us. I hope you get it right that way. Okay, perfect, perfect. Now, guys, we are 32 here. I don't know, is everyone on the same page together here? Can we proceed to the other part of the presentation? Okay, thank you. Okay, I hope we're just together. All right, so good. Now, since we've seen that, and we've seen how we can integrate the back end with the front end, we've seen how it actually works. Okay, next is the technologies used in back end. Okay, so majorly there are lots of technologies, just like uh, um, the front end. Yes, we also have different approaches to the back end too, and majorly there are, we have things like PHP, we have things like Python, we have things like Java, we have things like GB, we have things like Net, which consists of Basic and C Sharp precisely. We have something like JavaScript, which is the bulk of the JavaScript backend is Node. Yes, framework, and then we have affirmation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, yeah, this 7 will do. So majorly all these languages can be used for backend. So I'll just give a quick brief of them. Of course, PHP, as you can just Google up PHP and see what's up. Python, the same thing. Yeah, PHP is just a server-side rendering, server-side language, which is used for scripting on the web. Though there are extensions to it that you could use to implement for web for desktop applications to do. I've not done that before, but I've seen a couple of resources on that. Python is a master plan language, a kind of very nice language. I believe a lot of people are using Python in the world. And majorly when you're using Python, when you want to do Python backend with Python, you look at things like Flask precisely. I used Flask in the past precisely. Yeah, Django is also another good option. I think it's more like a complete framework, which gives you a kind of boilerplate for everything. And then we have Java. Yes, Java is used to build tons of back-end programming languages. I mean, back-end technologies. And we have Ruby. Yes, Ruby is used to. I've never used Ruby, but I've seen people use Ruby. And then we have .NET. Yes, yes, yes. .NET is used majorly also for backend too, though there is also fun approach with especially the Visual Basic part of it. And though I've used Basic in the past, but not anymore, honestly. And C Sharp as well, yes, it's also quite good for backend. And then JavaScript, yeah, I use that in PHP a lot these days. So majorly, okay, yeah, majorly it's just a choice, or I would say at times it depends also on the way you on the application you want to build. Sometimes some people used to say that for applications that are more kind of CRUD based, that's create, read, update, and delete, as more like an application that just more like a school portal. They advise PHP because it's kind of more resolved towards that, and they say if you want to build an application that is more of real time and stuff, you look at JavaScript, Python. Well, the thing is just that every language can be used for anything. It's just that some are adapted towards some features. Of course, if you want to build an application with JavaScript, the front end with JavaScript, let's say React.js or AngularJS, and yeah, you're considering working with the back end and you're going to be working on it. Well, of course, using JavaScript in that case will be much difficult because, of course, you're using the same language environment. Things will integrate better and resolve better than using another foreign language in that. And probably you're actually serving your front end because I've built some application where I serve the front end PHP. Like I everything is actually written in I just created that all these front end components are being served from my back end. So it's actually a requirement from my clients at that time, so I had to just make it that way. So in such a case whereby your front end is being served with PHP, of course you can just decide to just go with PHP as a back end. And the same goes for Python too. When you're serving, we're using the case of, let's say, Django. Usually, yes, of course, you have everything enclosed inside the framework. So you just go with the Python backend and you serve it with the front end. Though there are scenarios whereby you serve your front end with JavaScript and then you link it with Python backend. Either way, any way your application is, in fact, you build mobile application and then you just serve it to the PHP backend. It doesn't matter. All you need to do is just calling this APIs, especially. That's where API actually plays a very crucial role. When you're building an application that is in different platforms, okay, front end language is different from back end language, then most times we work with things that like APIs, okay? So, yeah, is Django more versatile than Flask? Well, majorly, I wouldn't say versatile per se. I'll just say maybe more like it is kind of more, how will I put it, more robust than Flask, has more of these features that you're requiring inside the Django. Majorly, Django is just is a full stack web framework. It has everything that you might need for a web application. Whereas most times Flask is just a kind of just a light, just a kind of just an abstraction that just helps you with just the basic minimums that you require in your application. So anything that you might want to do, you might have to define it with Flask. But then Django comes with everything just handy. Just like if you've done React and Angular before, majorly what you see is that of course your Angular is having everything inside it and Vue as well, whereas React is more kind of you have to just define everything in your own sense, with your own self. So yeah, the a framework is just a structure of a language that supports you building an application with everything defined inside it. Like you don't need to be explicitly defining the things that you do, the way things are done inside a framework. Everything comes in handy for you. You have them readily made. You just need to implement them for your usage. That's basically what we mean by a framework. And you might want to compare them with a library. Yeah, a library is just a part of just a system that is being optimized for you to be able to perform some specific task. Just like when you have a framework or a library of CSS, which is Bootstrap. Of course, it's still CSS, but then a lot of work has been done for you to just implement the way you find it. But then when you come to a framework, majorly it is defined by what has been created in the framework. Then we yeah, I hope we're clear with this language part of it. So majorly just whenever you're starting off, you just need to look at one and then you just pick up and start to work on. Then the next thing is the roadmap to be a back-end developer. Okay. Oh yeah. Well, as the saying goes, yeah, you recall in the presentation you see some scary things. Well, to be honest, it's not as scary as it looks. To be honest, the front end itself too is as scary as that if you want to. It's just that most of those abstractions, most of those magical what people think, well, not really magical, but most of those crazy things that you might want to not see are done in the back end, but front end is equally tasking. There was a time during I think some years ago when I was just starting, when I was just concentrating more. I started off as desktop developer, desktop application developer. So majorly, almost everything I do them on my own. So front end, back end, all the functionalities I write them myself. Okay, sorry, Khalid, can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So when I started off, almost everything I do is done myself. So I write the functionalities and the UI also. So it gave me a kind of culture whereby I prefer to write everything. So what I majorly do is just whatever I define, okay, the application I'm going to write, I define the backend functionalities and the front end as well, and I link them up along the way, then I create the codes and everything goes fine. But then for us now, of course, now it's very good that we work with separate concerns. Though as time goes on, to be honest, either you like it or not, if your front end, where is Precious has left, right? She could have just told us some instance whereby knowing about backend actually helped her in her. Yeah, definitely true because you know how things interact, how things work. But you might not. Yeah, Precious. Yeah, as a front end developer, I'm very very sure you'll have scenarios whereby working as knowing the basics of backend and how it works actually really help you. I'm very very sure. I think you can share us maybe 1 or 2 minutes illustration on that.
Hello. Yes. So I started off as a backend before I did front end. So it actually helps me when I wanted to do logic. Like I usually when I wanted to do most logical stuff, it usually helped. Especially in the fact maybe if I was one that actually implemented the created the API,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it helps a lot actually.
Good, good. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. So that's just the point. Either way, when you're working, even if you don't start up as a back end developer, along the line you'll be forced to learn some of these little details, which of course they unfold as time goes on. Okay. So starting off as a back end developer is just as simple as starting off as a front end developer, and all you need to do is okay. You need to know some basics. Of course, you know the basics of coding, and then you pick a language that you work with. In that case, let's assume you're starting off as a JavaScript backend developer. Okay, you want to start with JavaScript. Okay, so this is just what a simple roadmap. Okay. For you to learn JavaScript will be very, very good for you to know how HTML and CSS work. So that is actually taking you to the fact that you have to know some basics about the front end too. Yes, because of course, if you are building a backend application, you have to know how it is being rendered on the front end, of course, before you can now, okay, your data is going to be a picture. So you have to know, okay, which formats are supported by the user end and stuff like that, because there are times whereby, if you don't have a proper understanding of how both the back end and front end work, you write things that are actually unimplementable or not easy to implement, or maybe will require some extra things to implement, So you need to know the basic HTML, CSS, and the basic JavaScript. So after you know the basic JavaScript, then you need to now delve into advanced JavaScript. And this is just, I think, has to do with first learning how the concept of logic, things more like data manipulation. In essence, I'll call it data structure. So majorly you start with that. So when you start with that, you know the basics of data, how data works, and how data is being transmitted between systems. So when you understand that properly, then it's time for you to now proceed. Though, okay, I actually remove most part of the beginning, which is of course, the basics of the internet, how the internet works, and that has to do with what is the HTTP, the browser, and how they work. The HTML, the basics of the HTML, the CSS, the JavaScript. So that's actually, even as a front end, you need to know that. Then the use of the terminal also, because at times your backend will have to integrate and work with the operating system. So you need to know how the terminal works, how the operating system works in general, how processes are being handled by your system, your operating system, how threads are actually being implemented. That's how processes are being implemented. Though those are not kind of most precisely, but they are very, very good for you to know. So then after that, it's very good to know how memory is being managed, the concept of input and output. Then after you've known all those basics, it's now time for you to pick a language. And that's where we are just now, where you have Java, C Sharp, PHP, JavaScript, Python, Ruby. So we're using JavaScript as a case study. So after that, you just move on to, okay, you now move on to that data manipulation, that's data structure in essence. So when you move to data structure in essence, along the line, you need to learn the concepts of PCS, or maybe more like version control systems, how you can actually work with multiple collaborate with people, and all those are actually for every developer, but still it's still there for us as a back-end developer. So you need to learn the basics of working with VCS. At times we use GitLab and GitHub, Bitbucket. A lot of them, three of them are actually what I use. Mostly GitHub and GitLab. I've used Bitbucket, but just once or twice. Then after you're good with the way VCS works, and you know data manipulation, data structures, and algorithms, that's majorly what I'm saying. Algorithms precisely, because a lot of people just delve into development in general without knowing how algorithms work. Man, it's very, very messy, because you're going to be left with a kind of huge headache actually. So after you're good with algorithms, data manipulation, you move on to knowing how this data works. Okay, so while learning those data structures, of course, you're using a programming language, and the language you pick of your choice, you use it. In our case, JavaScript. So after that, you now move on to how databases, what is a database? So that's where, of course, you now learn how to you've already learned how to manipulate data in your application. That's just the algorithms you're creating. Then you need to store this data that you're manipulating, and that takes us to database. And of course, we have majorly different database types. But precisely, okay, we have one, we have Postgres, we have MySQL, we have MariaDB, Microsoft SQL, Oracle. So, well, you just pick one. Those are DBMS, that's database management systems. So you just pick one of such database. In our case, we pick SQL, or let's just work with MongoDB for instance. MongoDB, or I think, or Couch. I use SQL, Postgres, and Mongo precisely now. So you pick a that. Of course, you're starting off as a newbie, and yeah, SQL is quite good to start with, as well as MongoDB. They are all cool, though there is a difference between them. SQL is more of a structured queries. It's actually in a tabular form. Actually, the data you are storing is in a tabulated form, whereas in MongoDB, it's actually more in a text form, in form of JSON. So majorly, it's either way is easy for you, but from my own experience, I started with SQL, and people say SQL is quite more tedious. But well, I can't really say that it's tedious because it's just as easy as drinking water. As well as Mongo itself. When I was doing Mongo, I think my Mongo journey was just within the span of, let's say, maximum of probably 48 hours, everything about Mongo and stuff. And I people who engulf Mongo in a fraction of yeah, the basic functionalities in a fraction of the day. But either way, just pick one of them, master how it works, be very good at it. Then we'll need to also, after we're good with databases, there are some additional things we need to know about database. Things like transactions between different database types, how databases transact with these applications and everything we do, interactions between them, and the concept of what do you call it? The concept of serving data. Actually, this application that you're building, the backend application, how it serves the data is quite a very important part. And most people actually go with the opinion that starting off is very, very good for you to sorry, the API approach is a very, very good um, approach to really implementing a database. So majorly it's not really a bad idea. And the other way is the SOAP approach. Some people say it's very good, but either way, SOAP is good, API is good. It just boils down to how you are implementing your application. So we have SOAP is just short for Simple Object Access Protocol, and majorly is just a way of just integrating the application along with your front-end application straight away without having you to work with REST API pattern. REST is just relational database. Relational, what's the full meaning of REST self? Uh, well, I'll just check that and send it. Do I know most of you know that precisely? So another part of it is part of the journey is encryptions. Yeah, it's very, very good to know about security. When you're talking about, of course, you're creating systems that are having to be stored, like having to be secure so that there won't be kind of data infringement and all this cyber attacks, cyber threats. So you have to have the concept of security, and majorly we have two aspects to it. That is, we have the first one, which is the HTTPS, that's protocol and data access. The access of the data is very important. You should be very, very good at protecting your APIs, your backend applications using things like HTTPS, the cross origin security, the SSL, and the OWASP security, blah blah, content security policy. Well, those are things you need to delve into. You need to know how they work. And then also, even in the application itself, you need to look at the concept of encryption. That is using things like the MD5, SHA, SPB create. So basically, the security is up to the access and then the data transfer actually. So also it will be a very good point for you to know very good about catching, and it's actually catching of data so that you won't have to be requesting the database every time. Probably just like this way we are using these messages we are sending. Of course, at times we need that data to be present at all times. So it will be a good approach that every second you have to be querying the database. So rather than that, you catch it and then though catching is actually for both front end and back end, but it's also part of what you need to know as a back end developer. Then after you're good with security, it will be an added plus for you to be good with testing. Yeah, testing is very, very good. Yeah, we have different testing. We have IT integration testing, unit testing, and functional testing. Well, this testing is quite something that a lot of people ignore, but it's quite very important. And then after you're good with testing, it's deployment is another very important part of it. So deployment majorly we have just when you finish building your application and you need it to be accessible by the front end. You need to time is ticking. Yeah, let me just round up. So for you to be able to for the front end to be able to access your application, your backend, you need to deploy it on a system or on a platform. So those platforms are quite a lot, and I use Heroku. You can actually host on your primary things like SQL backend and PHP backend that uses SQL. You might just deploy it on just your normal hosting, just your Linux hosting. And we have AWS, we have Firebase. All these technologies could be used to deploy your backend technology. And then we have other architectural patterns, things like the development principle, which consists of being serverless, being microservices. Well, these are details that I would really. I think there is an image I have that documents these details. Let me see. I think I'll check it and send it. And then, yeah, majorly, okay. As you proceed on your journey as a backend, well, basically, when you're good with all these deployments, then you can actually call yourself a backend developer. Additional things are things that has to do with containerization, virtualization. More of what you'll be doing in that is you moving towards the DevOps part of it, and this will be another topic for another day. So it's a very very productive path because when you're good with back end, then man, you're really a very big boss. Okay, so after the roadmap, I think the next thing is the career opportunities in back end. Of course, career opportunity in back end is endless. To be honest, it's something that cannot be overemphasized. Back end developers are really in demand every now and then. So okay, let's take for instance you're working in a company that builds mobile applications. Definitely, someone will be building the UI, and then you have to make sure this data is being the back end is being built. So you can actually work as in a company. You can work as an intern in a company or as a full stack. I mean, as a full staff. You can also work as a freelancer, which I believe Precious has explained lots about opportunities. So the opportunities that are for front end are also just almost the same as the back end because anywhere you're working with the front end, you must have a back end to work with also. So everything applies to the back end as well. So I won't really reinvent the wheel by going back to that. And I think the last thing is future deviations, which I mentioned, is just especially that DevOps part of it. A lot of the DevOps guys I know today are majorly back-end guys earlier, and even till date they still do it. So, in fact, myself in the future probably I might be. Well, right now, in fact, I actually do some little of it, but not really as a full DevOps guy. Just for the options we build, just to get them proper sense. So with that, I think we've actually come to the end of the presentation, and there are lots of other things that are actually here, but I'm sure when you start off the journey and you're getting into the system, then it becomes just as easy as whatever it could be. So I'll really appreciate you guys to just don't mind those people saying back end is tedious. Well, I put that image just for some humor, but if you look at the picture, let me go back to the presentation. You see that it's just not as scary as it's supposed to be, as it's been said. This precisely, yeah, this image. Normally, if you look at it, it's not as scary as it's supposed to be because, yeah, the front end is just showing. And to be honest, this picture is a kind of bias because front end is much more than this. Because we have okay, I work as a full stack, so at times a lot of those features that I have to be done, I abstract them from the back end. I just do them from the front end and just just send the footprints to the back end to store for feature. But most times, a lot of things are done also on the front end. So if you look properly, yes, at the back end part, it's just a chilly part where you just go enjoy yourself too, as you enjoy that part of the front end too. So I think I should just round up. Well, I'll just give you one advice actually in back end. The honest truth is that no part of the development is just as easy as you think. Every part of it is just so hectic. You get the point. So all what you just need to do is set your mind straight, focus, and just pick one and work with. Once you do that, you just look back tomorrow and say, wow, so I've come so far. And I believe at that time you'll be proud of yourself. So thank you very much for being here with me today and bow out. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mohammed, thank you very much for this session. Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed and got to understand what was trying to explain. So, like you said, when it's done with the slide, because it was a very, very short notice, I told him yesterday night. So it was very, very short, so it wasn't done with the slide. So when it's done, he will send it to me and I will share it to our groups. So is one more thing we have. We just want to play like a Slido game. So I don't know. I think it's ready, and I'm going to share the link and the password. So the link to the game is can everyone hear me?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
let's see. Let's take this link and the password is I'm coming. So this is the password. So yeah, let's start logging in and let me activate it. Is the link going?
The link is just
No one is joining. Okay, just one person. Or we don't want to. If we don't want to do it, all of us can go. I just said we should use this, like just enjoy ourselves. icebreaker, stuff like that. Just seeing one person. Okay, just three people now. Is it my network?
I think the link you sent was the link. So probably you might just need to send up the Slido, so you just enter the
Mm,
meeting password. So guys, just go to app.slido and you can have it there. I think that's so. It will just tell you to enter your link and your password. Yeah,
okay,
so
okay.
Khalid, I
Well,
think because of the time, maybe we might not be able to. I don't know if we still have time to look at questions later. Ifyan, is there any opportunity like that, or maybe later in the game? Because I think that would be
yeah,
more. Yeah,
yeah, probably because it's
yeah, I've
almost
sent.
one
Yeah,
afternoon.
yeah. So I've sent the
Okay,
link to my Twitter account, so we'll probably just send a DM, then I can answer them later in the game.
there were nine. When we get to 10, we're going to start the quiz. So one more person should join. Hopefully, one person will join. Alright, I think can continue. Nine. Okay, we're 10 now. So starting the quiz now. So
Wow. Almost everyone watches football.
Two more questions. This is new. And so we are done with. Thank you. So we're done. Thank you very much for playing. Yes, there's no giveaway today. So what? Thank you very much. And tomorrow, we'll be having continuation of this event. Tomorrow we'll be talking about cybersecurity and game development. So if you want to know what it's about or you want to know more about those tracks, you can join tomorrow. You can still register if you have not registered at dsunilag.dev.tech. You can register here and you get emails and when the event is about to start, and you can check for the agenda for tomorrow to see what's happening at the event um at the event site. So once again, thank you very much for joining. See you tomorrow. Bye everyone.